Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be back with episode 2 of this series. So as I mentioned in episode 1, this recipe is from the Ultimate Final Fantasy XIV online cookbook. Very awesome book, check it out if you haven't already. However, I will leave the recipe in the description box for anyone who wants to try this out. So as you can see on the screen, I'm going to be making coffee biscuits today and they turned out scrumptious. I enjoyed them very much, so if you're interested in seeing how they turned out, then keep on watching. So moving on to the equipment, you'll need a small bowl, a medium bowl, a large bowl, 3 9x13" baking sheets and parchment paper. So don't worry about the baking sheet size too much because mine was a little bit off too. And here I was just trying to recreate that one scene from FF7 Remake, do you remember?
Oh, you stupid!
Yeah, that one. So moving on to the ingredients, you'll need 1 tablespoon of espresso powder, 1 tablespoon of hot water, 390 grams of all-purpose flour, 45 grams of whole wheat flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 250 grams of unsalted butter at room temperature, 130 grams of beet sugar, 105 grams of firmly packed brown sugar, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 250 grams of dark chocolate chips. To start off this recipe, we are combining the espresso powder with the hot water until it creates this thick consistency paste. So now it's time to combine the all-purpose flour with the whole wheat flour, salt and baking powder. So I normally recommend that you follow the recipe to the T to make sure that everything comes out perfectly, although you can be spontaneous with certain things. For example, on this occasion I decided to add a little bit more chocolate. I don't know if I fully recommend that though, because the biscuits ended up being so chocolatey to the point where I couldn't taste the coffee in them. So maybe avoid that unless you really love super chocolatey stuff. And here I was struggling to open the baking powder. I don't know what's going on. I clearly need to lift some weights or something to gain some arm strength. So now I'm just mixing everything together using a fork. And moving on, I now need to combine the butter with the beet sugar and brown sugar and then mix until smooth. I melted the butter prior to this, so I just put it in the microwave. I always recommend that you do this if you are going to be mixing butter, or else it becomes very difficult and it will get trapped in the whisk, which is very, very annoying. Fair warning, this recipe has a lot of sugar, as would be expected in any recipe for biscuits and cookies, so don't be alarmed, it's quite normal. But if you're a sweet tooth like me, you will be very, very happy about this detail. At this point, I was in heaven because I love the smell of brown sugar. And here I am cracking open the eggs because it's time to add the eggs, vanilla extract and espresso powder to the mixture. Are you guys good at cracking eggs? I never seem to get it right. I always get eggshells at the bottom of the bowl. So I feel like I'm always unknowingly eating eggshells. But it's totally fine. They have extra protein or something, right? I think it's okay. So I made it a point for this episode to pick a recipe that is easy, similar to episode 1. And I did this because I really want to encourage my audience, especially those who don't cook or bake already, to learn how to. It's not a difficult or overly laborious task. It's very enjoyable and fulfilling, especially once you get to taste your creations or share them with your loved ones. And there's no greater way of showing love than through food. So if you want to try it, don't be afraid of getting in the kitchen and being a little bit adventurous. So what I'm doing right now is I'm slowly adding in the flour mixture until a firm dough forms. I recommend that you add the flour little by little, or else it will become a big floury mess, especially if you're using an electric whisk. Now it's time for the excitement. It's adding the chocolate chips. So I did deviate from the recipe here and I used milk chocolate instead of dark chocolate, but that's only because my local grocery store was out of stock at the time. But I love all types of chocolate, so even if it was white chocolate, I would have been happy. Any type of chocolate is good for me. Here is the dough. Doesn't it look so delicious? I wanted to eat the dough raw. Speaking of raw dough, did you guys know that you can actually buy edible cookie dough? I really want to try that someday. So as you can see, I've lined the baking sheet with parchment paper. And now I'm forming the dough into little balls with my hands and placing them on the baking sheets with ample space between them. So that's very key here. Make sure that there's enough space between the dough, or else when it goes into the oven, they will melt into each other. And I've had that happen to me before, and it's not fun because then you're stuck trying to separate the biscuits or cookies or whatever you're making. So just be mindful of that to avoid that situation. After placing your dough balls, you will need to refrigerate them for 1 hour, but then after that, they're ready for baking. They will bake for 15 to 20 minutes at 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. But now the moment of truth. This is what they ended up looking like. I was so proud of the result. I was actually a little bit worried that they would melt into each other, but fortunately they did not. They looked absolutely perfect. The shape, the smell, everything was on point. And all that was left was the taste test. Here I am, ready and excited for the taste test, the moment of truth. And this is my nod of approval because, as expected, the taste was absolutely fantastic. I don't expect this cookbook to disappoint me ever, so big thumbs up for that. Unfortunately, the center was not gooey, that's what I was hoping for, but maybe if you want a gooey center, I imagine if you bake it for 15 minutes instead of 20 minutes like I did, it will have that gooey, delicious center. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I really hope you're enjoying this series. I'm having so much fun creating these videos for you. So if you do enjoy them, give them a like and share them if you wish. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.